The weather pattern may get a lot colder as we head towards the end of January and early February. Signals have been highlighting it. Maybe some colder air, maybe some snowstorms as well. This has been kind of a signal I've been watching for the better part of 2 weeks, and slowly but surely getting a bit more confidence that we may see another quick shot of some really cold air as we head towards the end of the month. Here we are on January 9th, the evening of January 9th, 500 millibar heart anomalies. You can see a big, it's color-coded quite well, big ridge here in the central part of the country. That's a pretty strong signal for some warm temperatures, above normal temperatures anyway, not like extreme warmth, but pretty mild for this time of year, all driven by the southwest flow. And so in the short term, we're going to be dealing with these above normal temperatures in the central U.S. As we head towards the weekend, so late next weekend, or this upcoming weekend, we are watching what will likely be a quick moving storm system around the 13th, 14th, 15th or so of January. This has been kind of a signal that's been kind of being pointed out for quite a while in the eastern part of the country. Looks like a pretty good storm system out that way. A lot of details have to kind of be determined on that, but just note that is a signal that we're watching. That's primarily what we're doing with this video, is looking at overall patterns and how things may unfold. But you see, as that storm system kicks out to the east, once again, big ridge building in the central U.S. So we're once again talking about above normal temperatures as we head towards maybe the second half of January. But look what happens as we start heading towards late January. We got a pretty big shot here, some colder air, a big storm system as well. And then if we widen the view and we do more kind of a northern hemisphere view, here's the United States down here. You can kind of see in the Gulf of Alaska, there's a big anomalous, trough in the jet stream, this building right here, big dip in the jet stream. And this is something that has been kind of being hinted at for quite some time. If we change focus here, this is the CFS, the Climate Forecast System. And overall, this model, it's not a very good model to look at particulars. Is it going to rain at X day? What's the temperature going to be on X day? This is really just a guide for what the pattern may show. And you can see here in the short term, a lot of red. Above normal temperatures look king here in the short term. As we head towards the weekend, again, that 13th, 14th, 15th or so time frame, you do see those cooler temperatures in the eastern United States. That could be a pretty big signal there. But then once again, a lot of red starts showing up. So a big warm up as we head towards the beginning of the second half of January. But then long term, look at that. Big shot of some cold air. And that's kind of that start of what's brewing right now in the Gulf of Alaska that I indicated on the GFS. That signal is kind of translating here on the CFS. And again, we're not talking about specifics here, but what this is showing is widespread temperature anomalies across much of the United States, 30 to 40 degrees below normal for this time of year. That's a pretty big shot of some cold air, but it doesn't really want to stick around too long. It could be several days, much longer than that other shot of some cold air right around the Christmas time, but then things begin to recover a bit into early February. So there's certainly something kind of going on here, and traders that look at natural gas futures, clearly they're starting to indicate there may be some evolution happening as well with the weather pattern going forward. Natural gas at very lows right now. Over the last about 52 weeks, we're near the bottom. But you can see we're timing this again January 9th. Futures are up about 2 to 3% of natural gas, probably because of this signal that's kind of been showing up here in the models that late this month, things may get rather cold. Let's look at some teleconnections here. This is the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation. What we're at is the x-axis here is the time. So we're right around here at the end of this black line. The red line are all the different members of the ensemble, the GEFS members. And you can see as we head towards the end part of January, at least late January, that trend starts going towards zero, and if not even below zero. That negative NAO tends to be a pretty good signal for cold air. If you think back to, again, Christmas, we had that big shot of cold air, that big storm system, kind of had that signal here. Went pretty strongly negative, around -1.5 here in about the early part of December. And this tends to have a bit of a lag time, about 10 to 14 days. When you see a big dip, that's kind of a signal that something may be coming. And here, when we kind of extrapolate this NAO out, maybe a signal that something may be changing here late January. We'll continue into looking in teleconnections at the AO, the Arctic Oscillation. already negative. This is kind of a hint of what we may be dealing with this upcoming weekend. That storm system in the eastern U.S., the AO tends to be kind of a good signal for negative for eastern United States storm systems. But when you have that overlap of the negative NAO and the AO, it's not the Bible, but it can be a pretty good signal for some cold air intrusion in the U.S. And you can see the AO also tends to be a pretty good signal for storms. And you can see here, early first half of December, big negative, down to -4. And then it kind of recovered. But again, that's that storm system that we likely saw right around Christmas time. Again, there's a lag time here, about 10 to 14 days. On the MJO, another really good teleconnection that I like to use to look at long-term weather forecast. We'll look at it here. And you can see we're trending. All these lines are kind of pushing out towards phase 2 and phase 3. This is another teleconnection that we look at here. All these yellow squiggly lines are different members of the ensemble forecast, and you can see they're trending towards this 2 and 3 phase. What does that mean? Well, the phase depends on the time of year. So if we center the phase, say, over February, early February, since that's kind of what we're looking at here, late January and early February, what you see here is that phase 2 and 3 tends to be a pretty cold signal for much of the eastern United States. In fact, much of the CONUS in general. Phase 2 and 3 tends to be a below normal temperature. So that's kind of interesting. We're going to be looking at that. And if you look at the signal for precipitation, 2 and 3, not really a strong signal out of the way. It doesn't appear like extremely stormy. You can see some southeastern United States kind of there in the phase 2. That tends to be a severe weather kind of outlier as well, something that we may be looking at the long-term pattern. But again, this is a forecast we're looking at here. We're talking about like a 2 to 3 week forecast. So confidence with this, not very high, but I think it is kind of fun to look at extreme long-range forecasting and things that may be coming in the not so distant future. I look at this a lot behind the scenes on my normal day job. My everyday forecast only goes out about 7 days, but I am definitely thinking longer term, and these are some of the tools I like to look at. Here's a little forecast discussion. If you do like this video, I'd love your feedback. Leave a comment below if you want me to do more of these kind of daily weather discussions or even weekly weather discussions, maybe the big weather story. In the short term, not much. This upcoming weekend, we're watching that storm system. Again, late January into early February, that's when things may get a bit more exciting in the eastern United States. If you like this video, give it a like. Again, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you do like it, we'll see you again at the next video. Thanks for watching.